So on my YouTube, I have put an email address, which is literally just gothicundone@gmail.com. Very, very simple. And I was hoping that like people would send in suggestions for videos up and coming, like if they wanted any true crime cases spoken about, because I'll be introducing those. If they've got any ghost stories or spooky stories of their own, or paranormal cases they want me to research and dive into. But what I got actually was a case of something scary that's not paranormal, but one might argue is even more paranormal because it's to do with human beings, and sometimes, quite often, people are scarier than ghosts. So in this situation, this young girl, she was 15, 16, and she was dating this guy. She hadn't dated him for very long. She knew him from when she was younger because her neighbour, but one, was his uncle. So even though he lived in a different part of the area, and he lived probably about 2 hours away, he used to come over for the occasional bank holiday weekend, summer holidays, half terms and stuff. They were the same age. They found each other, good looking. They were young. So they'd go to the park together, hold hands, watch movies, simple kind of teenage stuff. Anyway, she soon began to feel really uncomfortable because he was clearly really, really into her, and she was clearly not that into him. And the more into her he got like really intense with it, and it just became very full on. It became very like, stage 5 clinger. And that's a put off. I think everybody can agree that is a put off. When you are, she said that one of the huge things that basically put her off was that she was having a conversation with him about the future and talking about things that they'd like to do, jobs they'd like to do and things like that. And he was like, well, maybe in a couple of years we could get an apartment together, move in. And she said that she literally freaked out. She felt like she was crawling out of her skin because she was like, I'm 16 years old, I'm going to be 18, an apartment. I'm not thinking that far ahead. And I don't think many 16-year-olds do think that far ahead, especially if you have goals of a very different kind, and you're with this person for such a short period of time. Anyway, for her, it was freaky. For me, it would personally be very freaky if I was 16, dating a guy for a couple of months, and he was talking about moving in together in a couple of years. Like, so you're assuming we're even going to be together in a couple of years, like teenagers. And some teenagers do last the test of time, but let's be honest, most, go in different paths, and people change a lot over a period of time. So anyway, she became very freaked out by him, but then it got worse. So she said that she used to work in this big store, which I won't name, but it doesn't exist anymore. Basically, it went into like, I don't know what they call it, like remission, or there's a word, I can't remember. But it went into that, and what ended up happening is she used to work in that store. It was a very popular store. It was in Oxford Street, and she worked part-time because she was at college. So because it was during the summer holiday, she was taking some extra hours and some overtime, and he knew what her shift was because he kept asking to meet up with her in Oxford Street. But what she was saying was that, I'm going to be really tired from work. I've done a lot of shifts to get some extra cash because I'm going away with my family to Italy. I want to spend some money. And this guy basically wasn't getting the hint that she didn't want to meet him that day. So he was like, I'll just meet up with my friend. We can only meet for a little bit. She'd been in this place with barely any aircon, in, the storeroom, sort rooms, fitting rooms, changing room, moving in and out, sweating, tired, just wanted to go home and chill. So she said that she literally had to sneak out, borrow her friend's hoodie, and it was boiling, it was summer, to get on a bus to get out of there ASAP. Now, she knew that he was going to still be a door away from her when she got home, but at least when you're home, right? Like, in her case, she said that she had her parents there. She knew that she could go home, have a shower, chill, and if she didn't want to see him, she said she knew that her parents would back her. So that was the case. So after that, she kind of thought, you know what, this really isn't working, broke up with him. This guy also happened to be obsessed with the movie Scream. And not only did he have the full costume and the retracting knife, at least it was retracting, he would quite often call her using the Scream voice. And he wouldn't always use her name, he would use the name of the character, Sydney. And he would act as if he wanted her to role play. And no matter how many times she said to him how creepy this is and how fucking weird this is and how he needs to stop, it was almost like he'd get more excited by it, if you get my drift. And it basically got to a pinnacle where she actually changed her phone number. Like, this is like back in the day where she was saying, home phone. She changed her home phone. She blocked him on her mobile, and essentially had a word with his uncle as well, and who had a word inadvertently, like, with him. And essentially things, slowed down, died down. But then there was one night towards the end of the summer, obviously soon to go back to college. Lovely evening, she said. She was out with friends. They'd been to the park, and then he was there. And this was just as it was getting dark, so it's just getting dusk. And he was there with one of their mutual male friends, who looked awkward as hell, she said. And she said that the other two guys that she didn't recognise, and he wasn't wearing the full costume, but he was wearing the mask, and he was screaming at the top of his voice, "I'm gonna gut you like a fish," which, I don't know if you're a fan of Scream, but that is a line that Billy Loomis says, right? Now, I'm a big horror fan, so I do love Scream, and I think a lot of people are fans of it. But to stalk your ex, harass them with phone calls, and then turn up, near their house in the outfit or the mask, basically threatening, whether you're just doing a bit or not, is creepy as hell. She then said that 2 weeks later, he randomly rocked up on a Saturday, randomly knocked on her door. She went for a walk with him just near her house, where her friend was actually going to meet her around the corner, because she was like, "This guy's freaking me out. I don't want to go anywhere like with him, like, solo." So her friend was going to meet her, and they sat down by this bench, and he'd written her this, like, love letter back to front. Not like Rachel style, 18 pages back, front and back, but it was like a page, like 2 pages basically, and it was extremely soppy. And she said that it was such a contrast between his crazy kind of like unstable, unhinged behaviour, threatening her in front of what essentially was her family and friends, and then this love letter trying to be all soppy and romantic. So she said still no. And he then proceeds to rip up the letter in front of her and scatter it in the air, all dramatic style, like he's in some kind of drama. Anyway, that was her stalker story, and I'm really, really grateful. She wanted to remain anonymous, but I did send you a thank you email, so if you see this TikTok, thank you very much. And anyone else who would like to, I will leave it in the caption. It doesn't always have to be paranormal, it can just be scary stories in general. And I hope you guys enjoyed this, because it definitely freaked me out and reminded me of some very creepy exes, which I'm sure we all have.